Good day, everybody. My name is Samuel Sharo, and I'm a senior lecturer at the Department of Animal Breeding and Genetics, Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Ogun State in Nigeria, and I work on animal welfare. So you are all welcome to Animal Welfare Group Nigeria. This group was founded in 2019 after a gathering of students and lecturers at the University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Ogun State in Nigeria. And we have 3 missions. The first mission is to increase awareness about animal welfare and behavior in Nigeria, Africa, and the world at large. The second mission is to foster collaboration and networking among researchers who are working in behavior and welfare. And the third mission is to educate the public on the importance of animal welfare. We meet twice in a month to discuss issues that are related to animal welfare and behavior. And people from different parts of the world are presented on issues that are related to ethical practices, slaughtering, fear, stress, cognition, neuroscience, archery practices, worm welfare, behavioral genetics, animal law, and others in animals. And when I mention animal, I'm referring to livestock, insects, wildlife, and fishes. And today's presenters are Rosangela Poletto and Luiz Mazzon, and they are from Humane Farm Animal Care, and they will be talking on animal welfare certification. And today's moderator is Dr. Oluwaseun from the Department of Animal Physiology, Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Ogun State in Nigeria. So I want to hand over to you, Dr. Yasere.
Thank you so much. Once again, you're all welcome to the Animal Welfare Group Nigeria. I'm indeed happy to have our guest speakers, talking on this amazing topic to us today. So feel free to interact as we go on with the program. So we have 2 speakers. We have Luiz and Rosangela, and both of them will be doing a separate presentation. So I need to take the bio of our presenter so you know the caliber of people we have with us today. So Luiz graduated in business administration and law with postgraduate studies in France. He started his career as business consultant for PricewaterhouseCoopers and Accenture. After 9 years working for Campari as area manager for Latin America, he joined EcoSat Group Organic Certification as country manager in Brazil. In the year 2016, he opened the Certified Humane Institute in Brazil to manage the farm animal welfare certification projects in Latin America. After a couple of years, with the support of the local team of HSI in Southeast Asia, he started managing Certified Humane also in Asia, and today acts as the Global Program Director for the HFAC. Our second presenter is Dr. Rosangela. She graduated in veterinary medicine at the University of Paso Fundo, RS, received a master's degree from the Michigan State University in the US, and she had a PhD in animal science from the Purdue University Consortium with USDA, Indiana, USA, in the field of neurophysiology, behavior, and welfare of farm animals. She did a postdoctoral fellowship with the USDA Farm Animal Behavior Research Unit and another postdoctoral with LETA UFSC. After joining the Certified Humane Program in 2005, Rosangela worked as an auditor in farms and slaughterhouses for various farm animal species globally. 2011, she became a member of the Certified Humane Scientific Committee. So today we have in our midst guest speakers who will be talking about the importance or what it entails, animal welfare certification. And I will be glad for you to make this an engaging meeting. So to the viewers, thank you for joining us once again. Like you know, as stated in one of our missions is for us to be able to interact and collaborate with ourselves. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, and any question you have for the presenters, kindly drop in the chat box, and the questions will be taken immediately after their presentation. Thank you once again. So I'll need to hand over the mic to Luiz to start his presentation. Are you ready for us? Yes, please. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So thank you so much, Shun. Thank you, Samuel, for the invitation. I'm really pleased to be here talking to you. I will share my screen. Let me see here. Right. So the idea is that I will speak to you about 15 minutes on who we are, what we do, and where we are. And basically later on, Rosangela will go into dig into the how we do it on the animal welfare part, right? So HFAC then is the name of the organization that has created the Certified Humane Program. HFAC's mission is to improve the lives of farm animals, but in a different way. We decided to do that by establishing an animal welfare certification program, which would allow the farmers to communicate the way they do their products differently, and to allow also the consumers to identify by a label products that are produced sustainably. So our answer to the farm animal helping way of doing things is by launching in the market a certified a farm animal certification scheme. So Certified Humane, as I mentioned, is the name of the label of the certification scheme. It was launched about 20 years ago by HFAC, and it's totally science-based. I mean, we usually, where we create, there is a scientific committee composed by several academics around the world. They created the measurable standards that would allow us to say if an animal has animal welfare or not. And this is the basis for all the updates of the standards too. And as I mentioned, the idea is that we add value to producers by giving them a tool to communicate in their packaging that their products are different, are worth the price that they have. We do it per species, so we do not act on companion animals or race animals. We act on farm animals. Those are the pictures of the species that today we have specific standards. The last one was salmon, as you can see there, the fish. So and I put the picture of the Langhen as the bigger one because it's the one that we have more visibility, let's say, around the world. And talking about visibility, this is where today we have projects. Hopefully, as soon as possible, we could have African continent also portrayed here. This is where we have farms being certified. But actually, if we analyze where we have products being sold as certified humane, we have even more countries because we have a few producers that export certified products. Like in Uruguay, our certified humane meat producer exports to the UK or to Switzerland. Our pork producer from the USA exports to Japan. So we can say that we have certified humane products available in, let's say, about 30 countries. This is also an interesting chart that shows you the trend, the growing trend of certification for animal welfare. This is, each bar is the number of animals that are living in farms that are certified. So as you can see, 20 years ago, we had about 143,000. And last year, we had about almost 500 million animals covered by our standards, being raised according to animal welfare standards. And this is also just a specific, a more close look at a developing country, which is Brazil, and a specific animal, which is laying hens. This is just the volumes of eggs being produced, certified in Brazil by quarter. So as you can see, is also a growing trend that we see in many other places. So for the certification, we rely on inspections, on audits in every place. I mean, minimum once a year, in every place where the animals are living or they pass their lives, from rearing to slaughtering, and also where we have animal ingredients, because we also certify food companies that use certified ingredients. So whenever there are animals in the farms and animal ingredients, we make audits to make sure that the animal welfare standards are being complied with and that the traceability is also monitored. So every place where animals are raised and every unit where ingredients are manipulated must be audited. Not just once a year. Many occasions we have surprise audits. We have more than one audit. We also have the standards. This is just an example of the laying hens standard. We publish them in several languages so that producers all over the world have access to the norms, to the standards. They are available in our website in a, let's say, in an easy language, right? This is just a picture of one page of the scientific committee. As you can see, you have people from academics from several universities around the globe, including Europe, Australia, Americas, and all of them are specialists in different species. We have like salmon specialists, we have goat specialists, dairy cow specialists, and their standards are all available for free online. Just get into our website, certifiedhumane.org, go to a specific page on how we work, and then you have our standards. You just go there, click, and you can download the material wherever you are. Okay, you have even also the different languages are when they are available, they are in the same page. Just to give you like an overview of the certification process itself, as I mentioned, it relies on audits. So you have a documentary part in the beginning with the application forms. Then you do the audit. You give the farmer a chance to perform corrective actions. And then after they are solved and the contract is signed to use the brand, we certify them with a certificate valid for 12 months. So this means that every year we have to go back and do all the controls again to make sure that the farmer is compliant permanently to the norms. Now a little bit quick on the benefits of certification, and then I will pass the word to Rosangela. What are the benefits of certification actually? So first, as I mentioned to you now, is the free availability of the last word in science for animal welfare per species. So you guys that are in Africa are able to click on our website and download the most updated science on water buffalo, for example. We have a standard for that, right? So this is like one of the benefits for the society in general. We also allow producers that are certified to access new markets. I mean, this is a picture of a dairy producer in Chile that exports to China because he has certification. Or you can even be talking about a specific same country. Let's say in Nigeria, you have a very selected market in Lagos for like premium products. You can access that channel by being certified. So it opens doors to commercial channels of certification, right? It's an added value compared to competitors. If we have a certified product and a non-certified product, even if the certified product is more expensive, it's likely that the consumers that are more sensitive to the way the products are being produced are going to pay a little bit more for that product. So you have an advantage compared to your competitors. It's a powerful communication tool, as I mentioned to you. I mean, we give producers a big tool to communicate the way that they do things differently. They do things respecting the animals, and this message reaches longer if you have several products being certified with using the same logo, Certified Humane logo. Here you have like a few examples of shelves in different countries, all with the same logo, even with different brands for eggs. We also are we see that more and more the new consumer, the generation X and Z, the younger consumers, they're much more sensitive to where their food is coming from and how it has been produced. Specifically, it's from an animal, if it is from an animal. So we give this consumer, which is more and more relevant, we give them a cause. I mean, okay, if you want to really worry about how your food is produced, and worry about how the animals are raised, then you can buy certified products because it's available already for you. Then you do your part, which is to buy it and make and demand this kind of product. Another benefit we saw in a few countries is that some countries already, in banks in specific countries, they give already specific credit lines with lower rates for farmers willing to improve their infrastructure. So We heard that already in Malaysia and in Singapore, banks have provided better interest rates for farmers that are certified humane because of the certification, so that they can invest more. So it's already like an open door, even for better rates in specific banks. When you have certification, it always is a big message to the market in general. I mean, if your company is certified with an animal welfare certification, it shows that it has a specific policy on animal welfare. All big protein companies are being now looked upon that part. I mean, if you have a big protein company or meat or eggs or dairy that does not have an animal welfare strategy, that's very risky. So the certification always gives more solid, makes more solid, more robust the speech of the big companies that will produce protein. Other benefits also, all these logos are companies that have committed with cage-free policies, meaning that they said, okay, from the year 2025 or 2026, we're only going to buy cage-free eggs. So all these companies, they do not have the hens. So, and they make commitments. So they need to know if their suppliers of eggs are really respecting the rules, right? So when we certify the suppliers, the egg producers, it's easier for all these big buyers to know that they are really complying with their commitments, which is just to buy the certified eggs. Finally, I also mentioned before that we do not certify only farms, but also big food companies that use certified ingredients. Here you have examples of some big brands, global brands, that can use the logo because we make inspections in their plants, in their units, process units, making sure that 100% of their animal products are coming from certified farms. So we allow these big companies to use the message of the certification. And finally, of course, we give the consumers the opportunity to choose with the logo being present in packaging. And of course, as we had in our mission, we improve the lives of the farm animals. Okay, so this, I just mentioned to you lots of benefits of certification, but I didn't mention the benefits for the producer. And then now we're talking more closely on the handling of the animals. I will pass the word to Rosangela. And then later on, you can I can answer 2 questions if you have.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you, Luis, for the introduction here. So what is my goal? Is try to bring to you a little bit of more the practical on the practical approach on how we can improve. So even before thinking of certifying any production system, the certified humane standards, for example, which is the one that we are very familiar with, can be used as a guideline on how to improve production in general. So the way the certified humane standards are separated is basically on 5 big areas. Okay, so we have them divided in nutrition, okay, which is the first section. So all the standards within the nutrition are separated in FW. So every standard has its own number and name. And in that case, even if a producer in Nigeria, for example, or a professor, or I usually use those for my classes, and I also teach. So you can just use the FW section of the Certified Humane Standards to actually see how your farm is doing, or to try out a class on how you could be simulating an audit on the farm. That can be used as a guideline. Okay, so it's a quality control, like internal audit or internal assessment for the farmers themselves. Then we have the environment section, the management, the health. And finally, if we're thinking on species, for example, like pigs, broilers, chicken, where we have to transport and then eventually slaughter, we need to check for those points as well. So the way we believe in certified humane works is it's from birth to slaughter, just like Luis mentioned earlier. So we cannot just assess one section or one part of the animal's life. We have to assess everything that's happening from the farm's gate inwards, like inside the farm, and all stages of production. Okay, and that's how we consider animal welfare. So my talk from here on is just bringing up some practical points and practical pictures and experience that we have on farm to give you an idea of what we are actually looking to. So when we speak of nutrition, and I'm trying to bring up several species here, we should be assessing not only the quality of the feed, right? So if I'm here, for example, assessing these animals, what I want to look at, first of all, whether animals are competing to access the feeder. So I shouldn't be seeing any cow behind waiting for the other cows to actually feed. So first of all, we need to have enough feeder and drinker space so the animals are not competing for access. And for those of who have experience or knowledge on animal behavior, you should know that if animals are fighting over or competing over access, they will engage in more negative interactions, right? So we need to look not only when we think on the first of the 5 freedoms, which is free from hunger and thirst, we should be looking at feed quality, feeder space, drinker access, water quality. So the access to the resources, obviously, in addition to the quality of this diet or quality of this feed. So if I were assessing, if I were here in person looking at these animals, what I would do, first of all, during an audit or animal welfare assessment, I would grab a little bit of this feed and I would be smelling it. That's animal welfare assessment in practice, right? So looking at the behavior and looking at the access. These are situations which we can find in the field. And how do we fix it? Is this a problem? Even if these feeders were full, I mean, the body condition score of these animals look good, and they have just received the feed, I should consider how is the access to that feed. If animals if the access to the feeder or to a drinker is difficult to the animals, they will access, but only as they are really hungry, they're really thirst, right? So, and that's not animal welfare. We need to make that easy. And then look at this cow underneath here, like at the bottom picture. We have another issue here. We have a health challenge. We get other too close to the mud. That also increases the rate of mastitis. So if I don't even look at the animal's environment, if I just look at the records for mastitis prevalence, for example, and I see that it's high, well, the first thing that maybe come up to your minds is, oh, maybe they're not doing the pre-dipping or the post-dipping or the milking management correctly. And maybe if they're doing all of those things correctly, and then you get to a location like this and say, oh my God, I mean, that's horrible for mastitis, So for an animal who is heavy, such as a dairy cow or a beef cow, to access a feeder or drinker, where they have to get over this type of situation is very bad. So again, this is a non-conformance for access, feeder, and water. And so this is a corrective action. So in this case, the producer came and did a very pretty flooring. You don't need to spend a lot of money. Producers are very creative on finding solutions, So these are some other critical points that we must think when we're thinking on-farm assessing welfare, is if you are on hot regions, how is that water, the water tank kept, the storage of water. So in this case, this producer just made a little roof on top. That helps the water to be more fresh. And we know that if we're thinking on birds, for example, or laying hens or chicken or broilers, they don't like hot water. So if we can promote a cooler water, we will promote more drinking, and if we allow more drinking, then the animals will feed better, will feed more, and as a result, as an outcome, they will produce more. We need to think that animal welfare, if I have to tell you guys, okay, Rosangela, can you tell me one single word that translates animal welfare in practice, like on the farm? I want to tell you guys, it's prevention. If we can promote drinking, if we can promote feeding, if we can promote health, if we can promote good management, husbandry, we will prevent many, many, many issues. As an outcome, we'll have production increased, right? So this case is a water supply. So how do you get water to these cows on the pasture? Do you take through tanks? Okay, so I take these tanks twice a day. But what happens if the tractor cannot get to the pasture? How do you get water to the animals? Okay, so this is a drinker on the pasture too. Okay, this has lavish grass around, but what if it was like deep mud like the one we saw for the dairy cows, how hesitant would the animals be to actually reach to the drinker? Okay. And then water quality. You know, the best experience that you guys may have or may ask your students or your producers or to do is go out and really wash the drinkers and watch especially the ruminants, go to drink. The ruminants are very sensitive to clean water because we have to think physiologically on the microbiota of the rumen. If the ruminants find low quality water, every time they drink that water, they will drink because they have to fulfill the water need, physiological water need. But if that water is contaminated, these animals are constantly being challenged on the microbiota, like the rumen microbiota. And so that also will impact, eventually their welfare and their production. So minor details make a big, big, big difference. And that's all animal welfare in practice. Right? So these are just a few. I'm not getting into the bromatological analysis of the diet and, none of those things, but all of those points are part of, like, if especially for pigs and poultry, mycotoxins, how do you store the corn? All those points are all assessed. But as I said, because of time, we can't just get into those details, but all of those points must be assessed in practice. And when I think on the environment, we know that our animals, the production, the livestock animals are challenged mostly by either chains. This was a situation in Argentina. There were 274 calves. I would never ever forget because I was there at this picture. I had taken it. And these calves were tied by a chain. There's probably like 1.5 meters long chain. They had no roof. And this is southern Latin America, so it's cold, rainy, can get muddy, no protection from sun, no flooring whatsoever, nothing. They were just, raised like these until 2 or 3 months of age. And so, how can you tell me that there's welfare in this type of situation? Okay. Obviously, I was speaking to Sean just before we start the meeting with everybody here. Swine production, pig production is the one that we had seen growing the least on seeking for certification, because we still have some challenge on, even though we have group housing, gestation group housing, and we do have already commercially available free farrowing systems for sows, is still the pig industry, the swine industry is the one that has been the most reluctant on some changes and seeking for certification, because we do not accept any sort of crates for sows in any stage of life. So anyways, and then obviously, if I would have to tell you globally which species has grown the most from those graphics that Luis showed early, is actually laying hens. The egg production, the egg industry has found that when they actually take the hens out of the cages, the mortality rates reduce drastically, and the production rates increase very significantly. And not only the production, but the persistence when the laying hens reach the peak of production, about 30 or so weeks of age, they sustain that peak of production and they carry that peak of production for longer. So at the end of the cycle, these hens live longer for 90 weeks, even 100 weeks. We have some producers, they're certified humane, they have hens up to 110 weeks of age, and they are doing great. And they're like about 80% laying rate, which is very good. So these are just some examples of how we can actually promote welfare and freedom of movement and promote behavior and have the outcomes, the production outcomes as a result. These are some different systems we have for laying hens. So the cage-free systems, this is an automated nest. More and more producers have implemented these systems for laying hens. These are outdoor access. These are just pullet rearing systems, and they all have porches, drinkers, feeders, fans. And this is a very pretty video. This is from baby pullets. These are baby future laying hens. And you can see how they do dust bathing. So while they're carrying on this behavior, and they do throughout their entire lives, we have a release of dopamine. And dopamine is a neurotransmitter that actually brings the feeling of rewarding. And that's why, for example, the litter quality for the certified humane standards for laying hens, if they're caked, if they're wet, I mean, they cause, I mean, they result in probably like 4, 5, or 6
Meu Deus do
non-conformances.
céu, olha o que ela
Okay,
faz.
so this is a very important behavior that brings positive outcome. Thermal comfort, space. So this is a free-faring enclosure for sows. Okay, so that's our future for pig production. I don't know how fast we'll get to that, but it's a free-faring system that hopefully we get it soon. I just want to show these, like how all the calves are under the heifers are under the shade. You know, as I said, the environment, you know, some conditions, the trees for bringing shade. This is a clever modification, adaptation. So this was a non-conformance for dairy calves. There was just only the roof here. So this producer, what they've done, they got bamboo, and they use the same structure here just to place around, so to protect the calves, so to reduce wind, rain, and that's a very cheap way of. So this is just a very cheap example on how you can improve welfare without, you know, spending much money, just using what you have, but being clever. These are just environmental enrichments that we have. So these are, you know, turkey. This is a baby turkey. These are just some hanging vegetables. This is cabbage leaves for the hens. This is just a producer, you know, he uses balls, and then he hangs this boxer sandbags, you know, for the cows, the calves, you know, the cows to be had interacting. These are just plastic bags with wood shaving inside. So these are for broilers, you know, they love it. They use it for perching. And so you just spread those inside. It doesn't bring any infection because you can use the same litter material that you have for the house and just adding into these bags. And if you could tap on the sides, and then you can make little ramps, you know, the pool, it's actually the chicks, you know, they actually use up to 4 or 5 weeks of age, you know, before. And then obviously these are, you know, free range hens, and they just go around and, you know, health-wise, I mean, it's critical that we think on prevention. So vaccines, deworming, monitoring, and if we do get problems, you know, if we do get animals that are injured, we should be proactive and act immediately, right? So this is a calf that was that had this twisted feet, those problems. So it got fixed, and then eventually we managed to recover this animal. When we start seeing abnormal behaviors, that we do identify the causes. You know, we shouldn't be saying, oh, animals are addicted to do those behaviors. Animals do not addict to any behavior. Abnormal and stereotypic behaviors are a result of an adverse environment, and we should find the causes. It's very easy to point that the problem is there, but our biggest challenge, where we should move on, and Sean also asked me what is the biggest challenge, is professionally speaking, if we think on animal scientists, veterinarians, you know, agronomists, and whoever is working on the field to assist the producers, is we need to find the root cause of the problems. You know, we shouldn't just say the animals are addicted to do those behaviors. That's very bad science. And it's our responsibility to help the producers to find the causes, okay? Recurrent lesions, no tail docking, prevent aggression by proper management, leg malformation in broilers. You know, if we do see animals in extreme conditions where they cannot reach feed and water, we should follow with proper humane euthanasia of these animals. You know, animal welfare is also carry out euthanasia of an animal when the animal has no chance of recovering. We should not allow animal suffering. The beaking. So we have a big difference in beak trimming and the beaking, right? So any taking, so this is an aroma. This is where because this bird was just cut too much of its beak. And that's very sensitive to pain. That's very, like, this is soft tissue. And so this hen here, when she eats, she eats with her tongue almost like a snake. It's very sad. This should not be allowed at all. Some mild beak treatment can be carried out without being extreme. And you can see here, all these birds are feather packing, and they are all red, which means feather packing is active. But this specific situation, is because the birds would come inside at the end of the day from the range, from the paddock, from the outdoor, and they would not find any feed on these feeders. And then you may ask me, Rosangela, how do you know that? Well, because first of all, they're all feather packed. Okay, they are all red, which means they're actually feather packing at that time. Obviously, not when we are there because we modify their behavior, but they have indications on their bodies that things are not right. And then I would hear like a sound like that, the birds were seeking for feed. I could hear them, beaking inside the feeders and no feed was there. And so this is a mistake, it's an error on the management. So the birds were receiving most diets in the morning, no feed left in the end of the day, and they are very frustrated. Okay, so management, let's observe the animals. We need to look at the animals. A lot of the times people that are on the farms, they're worried about checking if the eggs are there, collecting the eggs, taking milking the cows, or actually getting the product out of the animals. But if we don't look at the animals, we have problems because we delay on detecting promptly issues. So we should train personnel to understand that animals have a routine behavior. Animals that have the routine and their natural behaviors. And if we see any deviation from that natural pattern of behavior, or any natural behavior, if we see the modification, that should trigger a click on our minds. And that's our biggest challenge as professors, as professionals in the areas, is train people to look at the natural behavior and identify quickly when the natural or the normal behaviors are modified. And that should indicate that something is not right. Okay, like this, for example, clinical eye, on the details. If we see that a hen, a bird is underneath a feeder, that's not a normal behavior. That's not what a bird should be. She was being packed. This one was under the nest. She was being packed in the head. So if we see something like that, that should make us take some action. If I see birds all the way up there, okay, so, white birds do fly high. Yes, they do. But again, I should make sure that they are not up there because they are running away from somebody or because they are, I don't have enough porches, for example. Okay? So emergency plan, we should have emergency plan on site on the farms. If something happens, we should be able to quickly take action. That's very critical, and that is under the animal welfare auditing standards. Okay. Well, finally, obviously, as Luiz mentioned, any final product should also, if from the gate outwards, if I will slaughter and transport an animal, I should be also auditing that. And we use the NAMI standards, the tempo grading helped, right? So that's for all the production species. And again, we do go forward. We do not just check the animals. We have to check all the traceability and check the plants, how a product arrived and how that product is processed and how it's segregated from all the other products. And finally, how it's shipped out. Okay, so that's very critical. So just to finalize here, and that's a message that I would like to share with you guys. It's like there is no perfect system. If you ask me, Rosangela, what is the perfect system for a dairy cow, a rare imperfect system, or for any species? And I will tell you from my field experience, there is no perfect system. But there is a perfect management, or the ideal management and ideal people that are there involved with the animals that can make that system the best one. You can have a Ferrari, but if you don't have experience on driving, I bet you will in the first seconds that you'll get the Ferrari, you will crash because it's too much power in the engine. Okay. Or on the other hand, you can have like a very old derby, like a buggy, or a very simple, not fancy car at all. But if you keep the engine properly checked, if you keep a good maintenance and good eye on your car, that will take you very far. So we humans are key for any of these. Okay, so at the end, hashtag animal welfare will have, if we have more management, we have more immune competence of the animals because we have lower cortisol, we'll have less disease, it will definitely have greater productivity. So production definitely will be an outcome. And just to finalize, I mean, as the as the Colorado River that has taken many, many, many years with much persistence to actually drive its own path. You know, for those like me who is being on the animal welfare area for like over 20 years now, I can tell you that we have to be persistent. Our mission is to help people to understand a little bit of what I've shared here. And we have and we have seen changes. And so if you don't see many changes happening in Nigeria right now, don't lose your hope. Be persistent. When I came back from the US to Brazil, we only had one certified humane project. We were very little, but professionally speaking, I was very persistent, and personally as well. And just as if you love what you do, you can send out the message. And I guess that's my message to you guys. Okay. So thank you. I think I ran a little bit of my time here. And so, yeah, I'm open for any questions. I know we have some time.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm short of words. And to be sincere, I will say that your presentation has really brought hope to us. And
Yes.
one thing that I was battling with is how realistic is it when we want to bring the message of certification to a developing country. And I was not reluctant, or it's not that I was not positive, but I was still trying to see how we can figure it out and get the message out, and it will be acceptable, as simple as you have just made it. And it has really given me that hope that we can achieve this. And the examples you cited, just like you said, you have a whole lot of key nuggets in the way you are doing your presentation, which I actually wrote that. So minor details makes a big difference. And I saw that in the picture of the cows, you know, when you compare the ones without the roof and things, just a little thing. And what really raised my hope again is that you have really come from the angle, from, let me say, the perspective of people who have little resources, and to make us
Yes.
see that within the little that we have, we can still bring out something good out of it. So I
Yes.
really, really appreciate
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So yeah, feel free to turn on your cameras if you are comfortable doing that. So let me go into the chat first and take questions. Yeah. Okay. So there's a question from Victor Yeniro. He says, good presentation, but what happens if a farm falls out of compliance during the inspection for certification?
Yeah, well, there is like a whole internal procedure that we carry on, okay? First of all, if in one audit, like a normal audit, if you have what we call a non-conformance, the producer will always have the chance of implementing corrective actions in their way. Okay, Sean, it's very important that I mention that, because we have producers, they're like huge, huge, huge. But we have some very little tiny ones. You know, we have some in Asia, they're like 500 hens. And we have some producers that have over 1 million hens. Okay, so everyone has its own way of corrective action. What really matters to us is it has to be efficient, and it has to work. So everybody, all the producers will always have a chance to present a corrective action for that non-conformance that was found. And so they have to present evidence, okay? Documentationally, by videos, by pictures, and depending on the situation, there may be a need that the auditor must go back to the farm to do what we call a complementary audit, to visually check everything. But we have an internal procedure, but no one is said, that producer that I show you guys the picture for those calves, that was one of the very one example that I have lived myself, where the producer denied from providing any housing to those calves, and he was actually not accepted in the program. Okay, but everybody else is always given a chance to implement their corrective actions on their way.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much for that. So there's a question from Samuel Durosharo. Okay. What are the challenges you face when you meet farmers and talk to them about welfare certification?
Well, sincerely, I have to tell you guys that if the certification is not demanded by in a specific market, I think to start with, in a place like Nigeria, you shouldn't be looking for the producers and trying to sell them the certification. The certification to be sustained, or the animal welfare certification, the real certification, to be self-sustained, it needs to be implemented for real. So the producers need to see the results out of those changes. And then the certification is just the certificate itself must be a result from the process. You know what I mean? So the biggest challenge it has been the producer. So the certification is a voluntary program. So we don't knock on anybody's door and say, hey, Sean, do you want the certification? No, the producers come to the program and say, I want to be certified. Now, some come to us and say, I want to be certified because the buyer, let's say a Unilever or Heinz, wants to buy eggs, and so I want to sell those eggs for that company. Okay. But some producers, actually, like Luis mentioned, come to us and seek for the certification because they want to improve the quality. They want to bring some standardized across the. So we have one client in Chile for dairy cows. It's the example. Their initial goal of seeking the certification was not because they want to sell products with the label on the products, on the final product, but because they want to raise the standards on animal welfare within the company.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, certification, like having the logo on the product, is a result of a process. You know, the producers need to see that by making that change, the animals will die less, they will be healthier, they will be happier, and they will produce more. And so the outcome is to make more money. But the result in the end is to make more money. And we should be hypocritical here if we say, oh, the producers don't need to make any money. Hey, of course they need to make money. But what they need to understand is that if we care for the welfare of the animals in all those perspectives that I've mentioned to you, the animals will produce more, will die less, you will spend less money on medication, and if it's just 5 cows, they will produce more.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, it's the way we convey the message to people.
Okay. I think Luis wants to ask this. Yeah, please unmute. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that we see in countries where animal welfare is like a new thing, for Asia, for example, we see now that in a few Asian countries, it's like a new thing. Is that sometimes the farmer doesn't know who to ask help for.
Yeah.
Because we, as certification body, we cannot go there and tell him, look, you have to do this, this, and that. We cannot, because we are certifiers. So they usually have to rely on local consultants, academics.
Mhm.
You guys have a very important role
Mhm.
helping
Mhm.
in being in the field
Yes.
to help the local farmers to really know how to implement, because sometimes the guy alone wants to make changes, but he has no clue on
Yeah.
how to do that. And of course,
Yes.
sometimes when you're totally alone, it's not as easy as if you have somebody else willing to help you and giving you the information you need,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh,
Yes,
that's
thank you.
that's a very good point you just raised. And yeah,
Yes.
that's a very good one. Yeah, thank you so much.
And we can help you, right? And we can help you, like, as a scientist, as an expert in the area, meetings like this is very nice. And that's why I'm happy that, all of you are here, because that's just a way of opening up your minds and trying to understand how important every one of you guys are in the local area that you are.
But just to let you know that the audience is not only Nigerians. We have people from Indonesia here. We have from Iran and from South Africa. I can see some, yeah.
Yeah, so, whatever you are,
Yeah.
you can make a change, even if it's tiny.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for the word of encouragement. Yeah, let me move to the next question from Elena. She's asking, how do you, as a certifying organization, ensure that the staff is trained and understands what normal behavior is for each species of animal? Do you have to test them, or how do you
Yeah,
yeah.
Helena, very good question, right? We have different strategies to assess that. First of all, the animals will tell us if they're being well managed.
Mhm.
And hopefully I've given you a few evidences, but there are many more. Second, we make clever questions. We make clever questions. We kind of interview them, but in a very relaxed manner, and we chat and we walk and we look and we ask. And by making clever questions, but very simple ones in the language they can understand,
Yeah.
we will find out whether they know what we need them to know. You know, I will never ask a farmer, oh, do you know whether by hands doing dust bathing releases dopamine? No, 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 no,
No, no, no, no.
you know what I mean? But I will ask, so why are the hens doing that? I mean, do you know why they like to do that thing that they do like this, you know? And I even like, you know, sometimes we try to be very informal with, you know,
Yeah.
depending the producers so they don't feel intimidated. And they will tell, no, I think they do that because they like. Oh, that's already cool. He never got trained. But he understands that the birds like to do that. You know what I mean? So he understands. So a lot of the times, Elena, the producers has never ever got like official or, you know, academic training, but they just know about the animals. And when they say something like that, that's the chance that you have to reinforce the outcome. So you say, you are so right. And you know that when they do that, they really like it. And then that's when you have a chance to bring your scientific, your technical knowledge and reinforce the producer's knowledge. And that's where they feel very good about it.
I think the question was related to our inspectors, how we assure that our inspectors are well trained. I think that's what was the meaning of the question.
Oh, they go to the farms and they get, yeah, and they go to the farm and no, I think Elena was asking well, anyways, but we don't need to rely on the government. She too, because all these changes that I'm telling you, we are making without the government. It's just by one piece at a time. Okay. So I don't want you to lose your hope. Forget about the government. None of this is done with and by the government. Forget it. But if it's the Elena, the auditors, you will find out soon. Okay. But okay, good. Thank you, Elena. Yeah, lovely. Yeah. Yeah, so the auditors, they all get very much trained, and we choose very good auditors who have background and have some type of degree on the area. But thank you, Elena.
Okay. Yeah, that was a very good one. Like you said, we should try to validate academic science in comparison with the indigenous knowledge that they have. And
Yes.
oftentimes they seem to have this knowledge from their own perspective. And to some extent, it's maybe close. I don't know if there's any publication that has tried to, you know, bring both close together and see how close the two of them are. And that is very good. And one thing I've also discovered is that when you're communicating with people like that, you don't ask questions of high standard. You have to come to their level, like you said, in their language, and just, you know,
communication,
the layman language, and you will see that they actually have this idea of what animal welfare is, but they don't know it as animal welfare.
Yes, yes, yes. And we need to value that.
Yeah, we need to value that. That's why you know, I am in support of indigenous knowledge, because I know there's a whole lot that they do, yeah, in support for animals. So as a follow-up for Elena's question, she said, does certified humane do any unscheduled, unannounced inspection or audit of the producers that are already certified?
Oh,
I think
yes.
you did mention of once a year, but at times is it unannounced and things like that?
Yes, we do have unannounced, especially on farms that are not doing well, or operations, any type of operation, farms or processing plants, they can be unannounced, yes, with 24-hour notice. Or if we have any, like, you know, claims, or if we receive any anonymous, for example, somebody says that something is happening wrong, we will investigate, and it's always unannounced. yeah, they don't know that we are going. But usually it's once a year and it's announced. And even though when it's announced, I mean, we'll find points that need to be worked on. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. This takes me to one question because, you know, in Nigeria or in most developing countries, the level of production in terms of the number of animals, like you said, even if it's 5 cows that you have and you think you can adequately take good care of. Are you with me, Rosangela, or you're frozen?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So I was
No,
just
I can hear you.
wondering,
Yeah.
I was just wondering, do you have any criteria, maybe in terms of the number of animals that the person is keeping that may interest you in whether you want to work with them in terms of, if I approach you now and say, okay, I have just 30 chickens, maybe something like that, would you say that is too small or something? I just want to know.
No, certified humane is for everybody.
Okay.
It's for
Thank you.
everybody. But you need to understand, for example, that when you read the standards, which they are available just for free, you know, you can download on the Certified Humane website. There will be some points, for example, when I ask, that's not applicable, right? Usually if it's very small barns or very small farms, you know, they don't have a generator, they don't need it. So you just need to make sure that you understand well the standards, you know, because there are some things when they're too small that does not apply to them. But which does not mean that the welfare of the animals is worse than, or it's better than a large operation. So, you know what I mean? Animal welfare is for everybody. That depends how you manage what you have.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what type of system or how large you are.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Let me move to the next question from Bashir. To adequately promote humane certification at the farm level, vets, animal scientists need to be trained on animal welfare at the farm level. He's trying to ask now if you have any idea of any internationally recognized short courses on animal welfare.
Oh my goodness. I do not have anything from top of my mind right now. I know, Sean, you have many contacts as well, right? So maybe from the ICE group, maybe you can put that question to the ICE WhatsApp group, maybe, or on your LinkedIn, right? So maybe you can help them. I do not know from top of my mind right now. I don't.
All right.
But again, we can have more, so we can, I mean, maybe for the future, if you can get, for example, a group, like, you know, a team of people that are interested, you know, I do it because we do it because that's what we love to do. You know, we can have, let's say later on, like a 2-hour session, like a 2-hour class, you know, and for those who are interested, we can just go like slide by slide and I can kind of help you guys, you know, to that's part of my personal mission is why, you know, I always share everything that I know if I can. So why not? Okay. So, you know, I wouldn't be issuing you a certificate, but I can help you to bring up your knowledge if that's the case. And hopefully you can take me to visit some nice place in Africa if I go there and visit you in person one day. Take me to some good African wine.
No problem. You're gonna eat spicy food. Thank you so
But
much
we can
for
set
that.
up some time and I can try to help you guys further
Yeah,
with that.
that's a
Yeah.
very good one. That's a very good one. Thank you so much. You've
Yeah.
really given me an idea. Yeah. Yeah. From Abdul Karim Shitu, he said, animal welfare in Nigeria is devastating. Government is the major problem. What there should be a policy implemented, but it's annoying. Even human welfare is inconsiderable. What advice can you give?
Yeah. That's exactly when I was speaking to you earlier. I saw that his message popped up and I saw that's why I kind of stopped what I was saying and I read his message. Sincerely, it's you know, ants, you know, the little bugs, ants that go around. It's like many ants doing their job all together. Forget about the government. All these changes, all these movements that we see happening, they do not rely on government and do not rely on policy. And sincerely, Europe that has its own policies, they have many animal welfare issues. So we shouldn't be relying on policy. We should, every single one of us, do a small change at a time. And if we wait for policies, I mean, forget, policies will always be very broad. It takes many decades sometimes to get a policy that really considers the animal welfare, because the government will always defend the lobby of the economical lobby, the big industry, and the big industry does not want to have animal welfare as a set standard. So we need to bring the demand from the supermarket chains, like we see the hotel chains, Hilton, many of the hotel chains, the retailers, the grocery stores. That's how we see the big, and then the ONGs, HSI, for example, the big NGOs that work on animal protection. They have been helping a lot, especially there's some people here that's from Indonesia. We have a lot of movements from these NGOs, Sean, on these regions. And in Brazil, Latin America, yeah, the animal protection NGOs that work towards to improve animal welfare. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And so try to partner with them. I mean, they are the big thing too. They help.
Yeah. Luis, do you want to add to this?
No, just as she said, never wait on government. The government will be the last one to do something.
Yeah.
So just expect that the government is not gonna block you on your actions. That's important, and not forbid you
Yes.
to do your job.
Yes.
At least
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
So,
And can I just, before you make the last question, I just want to clarify something for you guys. Sometimes the government, when the laws come, they prevent us from doing a nice work with the producers and with the industry, because everything that comes from top down and it's forced blocks people. And the approach that because I lived in the US long enough to see how the government, and I have seen Europe moving up like on the years of 2000. And so when you see that comes from top down, the producers kind of retrieve back. And places like Latin America and Asia, where we don't have a legislation, we have these proactive movements that they start from the industry itself, from the small producers, from the NGOs. We see a more positive relationship with everybody. You know what I mean? So we have benefits from not having the government interfering as well. And that's how you guys should look at it, because that's how we have seen it. You know what I mean? So animal welfare doesn't become something negative because it's stated by the law, and we can bring the positive approach of it. Keep that in mind. So forget the government.
wow. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, Rosangela and Luis. And I really appreciate everybody for the comments and for the questions. Feel free. We do have a 5 minutes period where whoever is interested in engaging directly with the presenters can indicate. So we can take just 2 of that because of our time. So if you want to directly say something to the presenters, you can use the react button with the raise of hand button, and then you'll be allowed to speak. And while we're doing that, I would need to now hand over to the host, if he has other things to say. So, Dr. Samuel, okay, we have Bashir wants to speak.
Thanks to everybody. Yeah.
Bashir, kindly unmute and yeah.
Hello, thank you. It was a very nice presentation. I wanted to know, how do you manage when it comes to, I think you also consider slaughter during the humane process. So how do you kind of certify for those that also do the halal slaughter? Is there a kind of special consideration for them? Thank you.
Okay, for certified human, yes, thank you for asking, Bashir. The halal slaughter without stunning, okay? As of right now, it's not accepted for certification, for animal welfare certification. So we do have some plants who do halal for broilers, for example, because let's say like Brazil exports a lot to some like Asian and in the Africa, I believe too. Yeah. But we do accept halal with previous stunning. We do not certify any plants with halal without stunning. Okay, so.
So thank you very much, Luiz and Rosangela. That was nice presentation, and we learned a lot of new things. And I love those pictures that you showed us, the before and the after. And I discovered that good animal welfare practices is not really expensive.
No, doesn't need to be. No, does not need to be at all.
We just need to be very determined. That's
Yes.
what I have seen.
Yes, yes,
Need to be very
yes.
determined.
And
So-
always ask the producers, Samuel, because they can come up with very clever ideas, and they are so proud when that works out, you know. Yeah.
So we appreciate you a lot, and we appreciate all the participants. And we are very grateful that you people joined our meeting today. And we hope to see you in our subsequent meetings. And we have a couple of announcements before we leave. The 14th inaugural lecture will be delivered by Professor Georgia Mason of University of Guelph. And Georgia will be talking on what do stereotypic behavior reveal about animal welfare. And the date is October 2nd, 2024. So Georgia will be talking to us on October 2nd, 2024. Then you can follow us on our social media. On X, our X handle is at AWGN14, AWGN in capital letter and 14 in number. You can follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. Facebook name and LinkedIn name is Animal Welfare Group Nigeria. And if you want to watch some of our past webinars, just type our name on YouTube and you have a lot of webinars to watch. More than 60, I think, Dr. Yasi.
Yeah.
We have more than 60 videos on our YouTube channel. And before I leave, or before we end this meeting today, I want to tell us that we don't need to rely on government when it comes to animal welfare. Let us play our parts. Government is full of politics. Let's do the right thing for the animals. Thank you so much. Dr. Yase, do you have any additional comments?
No, not at all. So special appreciation to our guests and to everybody for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. And I believe you have learned one thing. Though actually there is the last question from Yunela. She said she went through your website just now and she realized there is no information on non-chicken species. So maybe things like dogs and what is it?
Turkeys.
Turkey, so non-chicken species. So what's your take on that? Are you still, is it something work in progress? Yeah.
No, there are. I'm gonna put in a link on the page.
Okay.
But there are all the farm animals that we certified, including even salmon. Let me check here on the
like
on the
guinea
website.
fowl, turkeys,
Turkey,
other
dogs.
We have
non-chicken.
we have cows, yes.
Okay.
Our standards. Okay, so I'm gonna put in the chat the link.